Damn it. Damn it. Oh, God. What? God damn it. Welcome to Fandora's Box. This is a podcast where we talk about our favorite fandoms in terms of our thoughts, theories, and opinions. We also like to do a little production analysis as well as story dissection. My name is Tyler Gardner, and I am joined, as always, by my friend and co-host Christian Almonte.
That's me!
And today we are going to be breaching back into our segment that we call the RPGs. In this segment, we dive into RPGs mainly. I'm not sure if the video game we're talking about today is an RPG. I have no idea.
It has RPG elements. I wouldn't necessarily call it purely an RPG. I guess you would say so. Yeah.
It's tough because RPG is literally role-playing games. So, I mean, technically all games are RPGs.
If there's anything that has role-playing, pertinence to it, yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, so for the most part...
It's not like a conventional, like, Final Fantasy style, like, in the most classic sense
of
with,
the
like,
RPG,
But it is, I would say it's a role-playing game, yeah.
Yeah, regardless.
You have a character, you make choices, so yeah.
Okay.
Role-playing game, sure.
Yeah. So for this segment, regardless, for the most part, we have been talking about atypical RPGs, but I think at some point we'll most likely breach into other games, even though the title of the segment will remain as such.
Yeah, because it's just a good title.
It's fantastic.
It was the first thing that you said when we first did it, because we are, in fact, the most gangster.
Christian will be leading us on this journey. He's going to be talking about a game that I have literally zero knowledge of whatsoever. He actually just mentioned it to me in relation to this podcast, so I've never seen, touched, or played this game before.
Yeah, I don't think anybody in my friend group has ever played this game. I've discussed it in depth to Pat, probably when I was drunk.
Does Pat know of it?
Pat, he knows from what I was talking about. Because he really liked the concept, because it's very atmospheric, and Pat's a D&D guy, he really likes that kind of story building. Mm-hmm. So I dissected it for him there, but no other friends that I know have ever played this game, which is crazy because we'll go over some of the accolades in a little bit because this game got incredibly good reviews.
Damn, so this is like kind of a hidden gem.
A very hidden gem, yes.
All right, so whenever...
Hidden beneath the Sunless Sea.
Well, whenever you're ready.
All right. Entering the Sunless Sea, population, these two podcast folks.
That's us.
That is us. Yes, sir. All right, next slide, please.
Is this related to the game, this picture that I'm seeing?
On the screen right now, a bunch of silhouettes, vignettes, I would say them. Vignettes of characters. These are all characters that you can choose to be. So essentially what you do at the beginning of the game is you choose your portrait, and then you become basically, because you start off basically as the captain of a ship, which, we'll go into a bit further, but to answer your question in immediacy,
and each one has like a different kind. Do they have like a profile or a backstory? Is like this just like
you create the backstory.
Oh, interesting.
Yes. Okay. Yes. And you also create the goal of your character.
Oh, like what he wants to accomplish.
Yeah. Which is really neat and very unique. It's very like
very
I said,
abstract concept for this sort of shit. Usually you're kind of brought in with like what you could do and where you could go.
This let's go to the next slide.
Yeah.
Let's kind of dive into this. So. Tyler, would you care to?
This is why you send me an email with this PowerPoint and it's just titled "Poop."
Yeah.
And the next slide is what is this game?
We're an incredibly mature podcast.
Absolutely, most.
But yeah, the title of this slide is "What is this game?" In parentheses, I shit my pants. So. Essentially, basically, to bring it from the actual quotations from the Sunless Sea fandom, which this is basically a lot of what I'm going to be referencing now is from the Wikipedia, from the wiki. There's not a whole, because it's a very low-key game, so there's not an exemplary amount of, like...
Nobody did any, like, deep dives?
Deep dives. I will, actually, let me do it right now so I can do the shout-out right now, but shout-out to the Bespeckled Archivist on YouTube, who's done an extraordinary job bringing the lore to light in Sunless Sea, because without him, I would probably have maybe half of the content for this channel, because he's done his research. What's very interesting about Sunless Sea is because it's so well written, and we'll go into it, actually, they've gotten awards for this. But it's been very strange, because it's not like I've been researching a video game in the most conventional sense, because usually, for Fallout, for the other ones, it's like I'm looking into a video game. This, it's more like I was doing a book research. Like, there's a lot of stuff packed into this. Very, like, narrative, very page, heavy in terms of text. And so it was kind of like I was just doing a book report almost. It was
Could
interesting.
you dive into that just a tiny little bit? What exactly do you mean by that? Like in terms of like your method of research for this one versus like with Fallout.
Yeah. So, well, obviously, this is probably the most obscure game that we've done on the channel. Kenshi was very obscure, but like not as obscure because Kenshi sold over 1 million copies. I believe at last update, this game's probably sold a lot more since it's been released on consoles. But
This one's on this?
I think it was at 350,000.
Oh, so this one is PC and console?
Yes.
Is it all consoles or is it exclusive Xbox?
It's all consoles, and
Nice.
like I said, we'll go right into this. But yeah. So essentially, what it is quote unquote from the Sunless Sea fandom, which I thought wrapped it up very nicely, is that quote Sunless Sea is a game of exploration, survival, and loneliness set in the award-winning Victorian Gothic universe of Fallen London, developed by Fail Better Games Limited. So this game's been out. It's actually been out since February of 2015.
Yeah, I was reading that line. I was like,
which
this
is
game
wild.
8 years old.
I know, it's crazy to think about. But the reason why I didn't hear about it and learn about it until probably 2 or 3 years ago was because
PC.
it was only on PC and didn't release onto consoles until April of 2020. That's whereabouts I discovered it on the Xbox Marketplace.
That has been the toughest thing for a lot of these games because it's like they've all these great games of PC until like these consoles good enough to be able to handle them.
They stay under the radar until they blip up on our console radar. So for those that have console, unlike Kenshi, which we did a whole podcast of, this one you can get it if you're only on Xbox, if you're only on PlayStation, just go and get this, man. It's a great game. So before going into the lore, so it's quintessentially a top-down exploration, naval combat and narrative game with many survival elements and roguelite tendencies. You basically essentially start off, Tyler, with one of these portraits in the background we talked about earlier. You become the captain of a ship in the dreaded Untersea, the terrifying, echoing, cavernous ocean full of terrors and mysteries.
So the Untersea is the location or the name of the world-encompassing ocean? Do I understand that correctly?
Yes, but I wouldn't say world-encompassing ocean, because technically the world's oceans still exist on the surface.
This is an ocean.
This is
a
basically a cavernous ocean underneath. Basically, like it literally pulled from the earth into the subdivisive layer.
That's so weird because I quite literally just saw something the other day about how they had found like an underwater ocean.
And yeah.
That's wild.
Like a cave ocean, yeah. And it's big too. It's not, I wouldn't say world encompassing, but yeah, it takes days on steamboat to travel from like one side to the other. Not that you really would be able to, like you would have to have a shit ton of fuel in order to do that too. So in the most simple sense, you're trying to accomplish the pre-chosen goals of your character. That's for the game, at least for the Sunless Sea game. There are other games that this company has made that involve the same basically environment, and I have looked into this.
Do they have other games that are
Yes, so I didn't know this ahead of time, but they actually this is a sequel. Sunless Sea is a sequel of sorts to what is literally called Fallen London. Which I think was a 2009 game, like a web browser 2009 game.
Flash game.
Yeah. It was like old.
It hit mini clips.
But basically, yeah, when your character dies or retires or like succeeds in their quest, if they do, which is very hard to do. But basically, you can choose to start as a brand new character, carrying the mantle of your previous captain. And this game is really cool and unique in the sense that, like, you know how like if Dark Souls, you die and then you really kind of get shafted, essentially when you get respawned in.
Oh yeah.
This game's kind of cool because you can do things as the captain of the ship that can benefit your player in the next run.
Oh, so you can set yourself up for success.
Yeah, essentially.
For the next playthrough.
So because essentially you're basically the descendant of sorts from your first one. Like say you're their scribe, their page.
Yeah, you're some sort of have some relation to the.
Yeah, their assistant or something like that, and you can like get their maps. So every map that you made, you can bring that down to them. If you accomplish a certain amount of things, you can give them your, like say you get a mansion, like you can basically write that in the will to them.
So basically, you're almost like, it's almost like it is setting up a new game plus.
Yeah.
Like with Dark Souls, we carry over all the shit from the last game.
It's really cool. But you obviously you have to accomplish these things, because if you like just run out and die, you're not going to get anything.
There's nothing left for your next play. Yeah,
But I think that's really cool because you literally are constantly continuing your own story.
Yeah, it gives you a lot to think about too.
Yeah, it gives a lot of replay value because that you're not starting from a base. You're like literally just continuing a different chapter, and you can have a completely different goal and doing different things.
And I don't know this game, but could you set it up where it's like, I want to accomplish this with this character, but I know I'm not going to be able to do this as well, so I'm going to get set up so that my next character can do this.
Yeah,
cool.
Exactly.
Very cool.
Because there's a few starts. I think one of them is like recovering your father's remains under the ocean or whatever. And like obviously like versus another goal which is like get lavishly wealthy and like have enough to be like set in London essentially. Obviously, if you accomplish the wealth factor, you're not going to be doing the same thing as like going around and collecting your father's remains. Like you're already set, so
yeah,
that can be a goal for a different character, and so on and so forth. That might have not been the best example.
Well, I don't even think it would even super apply because the next character is not my dad. So
That's true. That's actually very true. All right, next slide, please, my good sir. All right, so let's talk about how this weirdly popular game, but like it was really. Like it's low key,
under the radar,
super under the radar. Like you literally had not heard of it until I had mentioned it
under the water.
To you. Yes, under the water. So basically, Sunless Sea, despite not many people knowing about it, and me being like the only person in our gamer friend group that knows about it, they got rave reviews. This got extraordinarily popular reviews. So like IGN gave it an 8.3 out of 10. They said Sunless Sea gives you a wonderful world to explore that's packed with memorable written vignettes in danger. Metacritic gave it an 81. It won Rock Paper Shotgun's award for best writing in 2014.
Damn.
And was nominated for a Writers Guild of Great Britain best writing for video games in 2015. Like this
could be also why it's more under the radar for these things, because I don't think too many gamers would even look at these sorts of accolades when they're kind of reviewing a game. Like, who gives a shit about necessarily like the writing awards?
Yeah. If you're playing Call of Duty, you're like I don't give a fuck about writing.
Yeah, you look at a gameplay value, replay value, graphics. That's wild.
It was very, and I was actually kind of shocked reading this because I'm like, don't get me wrong, it's a very great game and it has like great writing. But I'm like, I didn't know it got that kind of recognition.
Because it's like it's such a niche
it's
game,
niche.
But it also won all of the niche accolades that you can think of.
And obviously because it's based in London, had Great Britain, the whole Writers Guild, bro, nominating it. Like it didn't win, but like just getting nominated as a video game like
that in itself is
that's a major thing. Yeah. That's like a video game equivalent of being nominated.
Yeah, where we want you to running to win something, like in anything else. Also, really weird side cut.
Yeah, sure.
Nothing to do with this. When I sent that picture a while back with Brendan Fraser, because I just saw that he was in a movie, like for the first time in like years.
Right,
he won a fucking like Oscar.
Yeah, The Whale. Yeah.
What the fuck? Like, he comes back into acting and just wins an Oscar. I'm like, dude's a legend.
Dude's a beast.
But yeah, that's my.
I love him.
That's my digression.
By the way, I've been bringing in the Nathan Fillion joke quite constantly. For those that are want to check out Avatar Logic Gaming to figure out what we're talking about, feel free to. But basically, there was a terrible moment in a Halo playthrough where I for some reason thought that Nathan Fillion was Brandon Fraser.
We were playing ODST Halo. Yeah. Nathan Fillion's in that game.
Literally the face of Nathan Fillion is there.
Yeah, the animated.
And I'm like, yo, it's the guy from Firefly, Brandon Fraser. And then like Pat immediately like went off of me. It was so funny.
And me, my headset was not working, and I was screaming. It's not fucking. Oh my god.
It's not Brandon Fraser. So now with my girlfriend currently, I've kept that joke.
Is it official?
Yeah, it is official.
Congrats.
Yes, as of this podcast right here.
Nice.
Yeah, it'll probably be like months by the time this is released. It's okay. But yeah, no, I've literally just been saying, we were watching The Mummy, and I'm like, dude, Brandon Fraser's amazing. Or no, wait.
I was about to say
Nathan Fillion's amazing in this. Yeah. All right. Well, next slide, please. Let us continue down this rabbit hole, my friend. So, I don't know, I just had this picture of a guy looking at a bean.
Me and the boys at 3am looking at
beans. Oh yeah, so let's check out the trailer, my friend.
Yeah.
So I know because a lot of this, with video games, it's a bit tough with us in terms of podcasts, because a lot of the podcasts that we do on this channel, which you guys probably know, people that have been listening to our podcast rather, they know that we have, these PowerPoints up, but we don't really have to. We're just talking about retrospective television shows and things that we both watched. Video games are a little bit tougher though. Video games, I feel like you need to have a little bit of visual aid when you're going through these. So let's watch the trailer, give you a little bit of a sense of what it's all about. Now the trailer, here's the thing, another shout out here. I think it's called Mary Mac Productions. Let's see. Oh, sorry, Mickey Mar Productions Limited. They made the score and the soundtrack for this game, which is incredible. It's a great score.
Nice.
Like I have actually like listened to this score like at the gym and stuff, and it's not even like a hardcore one. It's just so atmospheric and unique, and like they did such an amazing job with it.
Did they do you know if they've done anything else for other video games?
I hadn't done that much research, but I would assume so because they're just really good.
When you listen to it, you're like,
yeah. If I made a video game that was like very atmospheric, I would want them probably.
Nice.
But anyway,
it sounds like they could make some D&D
but
tracks.
The reason why I bring that up now is because I'm mad that they didn't include the soundtrack in the trailer. It's just some generic trailer music, and I was I was very disappointed. I'm like, come on, guys.
That's all ocean.
I mean, maybe that's why they didn't get that much.
Could have gotten.
They could have got more sales.
Could have gotten 8.7.
I'm just saying. Yeah, but yeah, let's watch it. It's like an ad.
It's gonna be an ad. I was just about to say. Wow.
But yeah, Tyler, what do you think about that trailer, my guy?
Does suck when these trailers do that generic like the dun music, and I think that does take away because at that point they all do sound the same.
Yeah.
But for me personally, the top-down games were never really my jive. The only one I really actually played into was I think I did a little bit of Fire Emblem when it was on the Game Boy, and then there was also a Bionicle game that was very similar with the top-down structure. So I can't say for me personally that it would make me want to like jump in.
Yeah. It's actually extraordinary that you say that because I was the same way before getting this game, which was very strange because I think I got this game kind of at a bit of a whim. Like I didn't do a whole lot of research into this game. Like I saw the trailer, I'm like, this might just be fun for like just to play for a little bit.
Yeah,
like it's however many dollars, I'll just buy it. And I ended up getting like sucked in and became one of my favorite games. So
is it like that the whole time, just top down fully?
Well, there's a lot of narrative bits. That's just mostly like kind of the mechanics of the gameplay. Like you're sailing around on the ship. But when you go to the islands, it's like all kind of choice based, you know, with like text and, you know, images. But a lot of it's, like I said, it's very narrative. It's like you're kind of interacting with a book almost in certain spots. Which, you know, I know that might not appeal to everybody.
Yeah.
Who's like more into like the kind of the flashy, fast paced stuff, especially in the modern era when we have all these like
it's more
great game engines that they're making these like you can do pretty much like a.
You're saying this game requires some thought.
It requires some reading,
energy,
yes. Yeah. But yeah, but what do you think of other than the top down mechanics?
Short of that, we're seeing the gameplay, which going through the different areas. That's kind of interesting. It's kind of intriguing because you're wondering because you have no idea like how the fuck do you get from here to there. It doesn't really give you enough to like know what's going on, which I think that's the hook. So I like that. I can see that as being very appealing. Again, it's not something that's going to make me personally want to jump in. And then as we had already discussed, the music was not the best choice for that. I think they would have needed an atmospheric something even more to kind of suck you in to what's actually going on in this game. I don't think that music helped the gameplay that you're seeing. It made it seem, if my understanding is correct from what you've been saying and what we just saw, it makes the game seem way more epic than what it actually might be.
It makes it seem way more like
intense,
like action focused than it's like. Because here's the thing, like I kind of want to show you right now, like the just kind of maybe like one of the opening songs or something like that, because it's a lot more thematic. Because the idea of it and the reason why I really love Sunless Sea, and I wanted to do like a D&D campaign based off Sunless Sea, simply because it's just the atmosphere is ridiculously good, and there's actually a bit of a I find that there's a bit of a shtick with the idea of the Sunless Sea theme, which we don't get. So they made a sequel to Sunless Sea called Sunless Sky, which is like a kind of like a train in the sky, and it was like I didn't get the same kind of emotional connection because Sunless Sea is like you kind of have that feeling of
there's already that
it's got that
mystery,
tension.
with the ocean versus the sky. It's like it's just too open
any
to
second
give you
of-
that closed off.
Because any second a freaking like Cthulhu creature could come up and eat you.
Yeah, versus
the sky is just kind of like it's all bright and like you're like
it's always less intense.
Plus, you're not really doing like who wants to do like a naval battle but with like a locomotive train?
Yeah,
I didn't.
Sounds awkward.
Yeah, I mean, granted, I didn't get very far in it. Maybe if I got further into it, I would start getting more
Perhaps.
hype. But like at the beginning, I wasn't kind of like I'm like you should have made just a sequel to Sunless Sea, like Sunless Sea 2, especially because you made that
formula.
Yeah, you made the beautiful like you made Fallen London. They are in development of a new game. I think it's not going to be anything action based. I think it's just going to be it's like about the inner workings of London. So it's more character driven than it is actual action.
I was almost thinking like city building.
Yeah,
kind
I
of
don't know
sim.
if it. Yeah, I don't know too much about it honestly. I think it's a bit of a far cry from what they've done.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, I never played Fallen London itself, so I had to do actually a bit of research because a lot of it was drawn from the original Fallen London game.
So I do have the soundtrack pulled up because you did say you almost wished, and we can fulfill that wish for you. Do you know if there's a certain
Tufted Needles bedding is breathable and made from natural fibers.
Do I know if Tufted Needles bedding is made from natural fibers? No, I don't.
I didn't know either. No, I don't know.
Yeah, we can try the opening screen. Yeah, sure.
There's the opening screen. I don't know if you know any of these songs.
I do know a lot of these. Yeah. Oof, there's some good ones.
The sea does not forgive. Undulata.
Let's see. Opening screen, Submergio Viol, Sultry. Those are all pretty good ones.
All right, let's start with.
Let's try the opening scene. So you basically, we load up the game for the first time. Tyler loads up the game, and it's very different from the trailer.
So I've bought this game with your recommendation. You showed me the trailer. I wasn't feeling it, so I'm gonna download this, not thinking too much of it. Open this up, and this is what I'm gonna hear.
Very different.
Yeah, why didn't they put this in the trailer?
And this is like a bit jollier because you got the opening.
Yeah, the hopeful, like the rising dash.
Yeah,
sort of thing.
exactly.
Alright. You know of any ones that are kind of like dark and foreboding out of this list?
Try Sultry, if I remember correctly. See, I'm not sure if it's still in, but it's all good. Try Submergio. Third one. Oh, this is London's theme. So one of the only safe places in the whole game is actually Fallen London, believe it or not. So whenever you get closer to the London docks, this will play.
Which makes sense.
Which is nice, yeah.
Happy, vibey.
I was gonna say, this is probably the happiest song in the whole thing. See, if I did the research, I would have picked out a few of them, just to be nice. Try Lowlands, it's pretty good. There's one that I really want to get from you.
I want to try Vox Zombies. Very exploratory vibes with a lot of these songs.
Yeah.
You kind of feel like I know what you're saying with the atmosphere. You feel the difference in where you would be when this music starts playing. And there's nothing necessarily like threatening or kind of impressive about it yet. This name just sounded cool.
It's cool because you can kind of know which areas you're in based on the soundtracks. Same thing with like fights.
With what farts?
Fights.
Oh.
Sticking with the theme, I see.
I legitimately misheard you.
Nice. Storm, Salt, and Stone. Those are the three gods in Sunless Sea.
Are they dead gods? Or are they...
They're gods of the Neath. As we'll go over, the Neath is not a normal place.
Okay.
In a lot of capacities. Like the way that like light operates and like physics operates is like different. It's pretty crazy. But yeah, those are just a few of the themes. Obviously, feel free to explore some of them on their own. There was one that I really wanted to find, but we'll do it some other time. But there's some good ones.
Now then, why? It's a matter
For philosophers. Yeah.
Fantastic.
So yeah, behind you see kind of a little bit of an image of that's actually kind of what you would see during the gameplay.
Yeah, so do those images, because we were seeing similar things like that in the trailer, did those matter, or is those just like kind of markers, like more design than anything else?
What do you mean?
Like that weird little kind of gyroscopic whatever we're
The
looking
Dawn
at.
Machine?
Sure. Is that an actual...
Oh, that's
thing?
a place, yeah.
That's a place in the game.
Place,
It's not
yeah.
just like kind of a artistic thing that's in the game.
You don't want to go to the Dawn Machine.
Well, then why are you right there next to it?
I guess for a school, someone wanted a cool screenshot, I guess.
Fine.
Yeah, that's the, remember in the trailer, that's when they were freaking out about the sun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The sun,
Because it basically, one of the main things that you have to worry about here, that actually, it's a good thing that you brought this up because I didn't touch on it too much in the PowerPoint, is the idea of fear is really, really powerful in Sunless Sea.
Like the actual like emotion fear?
Yeah, it's like a, it's very much a survival game in the sense that like,
Attract your like crew morale and shit.
yeah, well, because I mean, it's a absolutely terrifying place to be in because it's not a natural ocean. Imagine being in like a completely pitch black cave of just water, knowing that there's like.
Oh, you're speaking about where you are in the
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that
So,
Unthiers or whatever it's called.
It's and then you got like that, and then thalassophobia as well with like the massive creatures underneath you.
That shit scares the fuck out of me.
Yeah, it's a really scary place, and you know I loved the idea of it because it's not like don't get me wrong, I'm one of those, I'm a major chicken when it comes to horror movies. I'm not gonna lie, like I can,
No, I feel you.
I watched like the new Evil Dead movie and I couldn't look in a mirror for like 2 months after that because of the terrifying fucking mirror scene. Like that's how scared I get from these things. But when it comes to like atmospheric horror, like stuff like this, I actually really like because it's like more. It's not like jump scare like completely like.
It's a totally different.
It's a whole experience.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah. The immersion is it hits you.
Yeah,
different.
yeah.
Absolutely.
I like that.
I think I will say for me with the top down, I think that gets taken away from versus if this was set up as maybe like a first person or something like that, it would hit me way harder just because it's like I just feel more immersed versus like top down. I find it tough to take it seriously that. I can't be scared of it.
If they ever, I don't know if they have, but if they ever get like a good amount of like profit from this game or from the surrounding games, don't get me wrong, I've grown very attached to the top down thing, but I think it would be kind of cool to see how it would look.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if it's like third person, first person, or like kind of just
anything like that. So you can get a better understanding of scaling.
Yeah.
You're seeing like a tiny little ship.
Honestly, yeah, I think that would do a lot, but you know. That's not for me to take away from the fact that this is a very good game, though. I 100% stand by their approach for this. Obviously, they're an indie development game studio. They're not a AAA production, so kind of top down was kind of the easier approach, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially because their first game. This is their second game. Their first game was a browser game.
Yeah, it was a Flash.
So I mean, this is pretty good for them. So yeah, why? What's all the hype about? Why is it so good? Tyler, the next slide, please.
Yes.
All right, so the lore in Fallen London. This is what I was talking about a little bit earlier. It was very hard to go about the lore of this because it's just so in depth, and someone took a lot of time and effort to write all stories about this. And because it's all mystery based, I'd say it's more mystery than it is horror. If that makes sense.
Sure.
Like the mysteries are scary and terrifying, and I think that's where it comes from. But the mysteries themselves are more in your face than the actual like horror of
Well, that's kind of like that whole Lovecraftian vibe, anyways, because
I think
it's so
so.
very like out of like mind.
Yeah. Exactly, and it's the lack of comprehension.
Exactly, yeah.
Of what you're experiencing
Which
that
makes
drives
it less
that
scary, just,
emotion.
like, more uncomfortable
Yeah.
than anything else.
And to be fair, that's also why like some of the scenes that you'll have when you're in the game are so creepy. Like that one that eye opens up, man.
Yeah.
Because what happens, what you have to understand about this game is that unless you save the map, like unless the map is given to your descendant, the islands all shift around.
Oh shit.
And all the locations shift around.
Wait, so how would a map even fucking help?
Well, because I mean, I think that keeps it the same. I think that's the only thing that keeps it the same.
Put it in place.
I think that's
you write it down. It's.
I actually don't. That might not. Honestly, that might not even be true.
That'd be interesting.
But yeah, no. So you occasionally we'll stumble across these things where it's like there's just like a giant eye will stare at you, and obviously it freaks the fuck out of your crew, and you're like go insane. And you're like, yeah. Because you'll have some really intense moments where your fear and like insanity will take over, and you have to like make some like crazy decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And like they mentioned, like sometimes you have to eat your crew. I try to avoid that.
I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah. But basically, because you'll run out of fuel, you run out of food, things like this. So it's very intense.
Well, you're gonna go into it, but it's like, can you set yourself up for that? Like,
Yeah, no, I haven't eaten my crew in quite some time.
I was about to say, make sure you got enough beans.
Yeah, no, we're pretty good on that front.
Good.
That being said, though, yeah, no, they're because I think that's one of the cool things where it's mystery, and then like you'll have these moments of like terror, but you feel it with your characters, which is very cool. But anyway, back to the lore. So we're going into the lore of the Fallen London. Tyler, you are the designated lore of the squad, so you probably will appreciate this.
Absolutely.
So the lore is pretty hard to comprehend in Sunless Sea. The writing is a lot of layers deep, and it's in a world where not everything really has to make sense, which makes it even more difficult to make sense. Because in a world where, like, say, laws of physics don't apply in certain spots or anything like that, suddenly putting that into like a temporal timeline is very difficult.
Yeah.
But in order to explore Sunless Sea, let's go into the first game a little bit. The lore of the original 2009 browser-based game that Feel Better Games started us off with. Now, as a disclaimer, I have not played it, so I do apologize to like the diehard fans. I'm just mostly reading off of the wikis, the Wikipedias.
Yeah, we're just frame building.
Yeah, just frame building, and also like getting it from the wonderful Bespectacled Archivist. So, Fallen London. That's actually what you see as in Sunless Sea as Fallen London.
This is a screenshot of
Yep.
Sunless Sea, though. Okay.
Right there. It's very so these little lanterns you see, I forget what you call them, buoys that have like the light.
Yeah.
The further you go away from lights, the more quickly your crew and yourself would be really fearful and go insane. Sure. Because if you like go for months at a time without seeing any light whatsoever, except for your own ship's light, like it's creepy, man.
Yeah.
It's like a sensory deprivation tank, essentially.
Yeah. I'm sure that would just fuck you up in real life too.
Yeah, honestly. So you have some interesting characters up here. Obviously, these are up in the right-hand corner there. That's all your kind of captains, your crew.
And then the silhouette's always you.
Yeah, that's always you. So you'll have like a naval officer
You
or
have a rat on your
XYZ.
ship.
Yeah, you get a mascot. So so you can have a rat. You can have one of the creepy cannibalistic mushrooms and shit.
Nice.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff. But anyway. So in the mid-19th century, 40 years prior to the game's beginning, which, but when I say the game, I mean the Fallen
40
London.
years before Fallen
So
London.
yeah, before the Fallen London game, which is different. So basically, what I was trying to mention was that, so this is like, the fall of London happens, and then 40 years later, we get the Fallen London game.
Okay.
However, Sunless Sea only takes place 30 years after. And that's when it starts. But obviously, you make it through the timeline, and you probably catch up to where it would be.
The fall of London.
But basically, for specifically talking about Fallen London, we're gonna say 40 years ago.
Sure.
London, first city of the British Empire, it gets stolen beneath the surface of the planet into the neath, which is basically this vast cavern beneath the earth.
How does an entire city get taken?
Yeah, taken by a swarm of bats.
Like picked up the whole city and just dropped it somewhere?
Like literally just like cracked the earth and dragged it down.
Insane.
It's crazy, man. This is all Lovecraftian crap, man. Like this stuff is ridiculous to like even think about.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, it wasn't the first one to end up in the Undersea. However, it was the fifth city to be taken, part of a vast scheme that stretched across millennia. The catastrophic event was the results of the action of the traitor Empress, who had sold the city essentially in exchange for the life of Albert, Prince Consort.
She sold London.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about this in the next slide,
Okay.
actually. Which we can go to right now.
Right.
So, the Traitor Empress. This is some fan art. I thought this was pretty neat. So, in 1861, the Traitor Empress, Her Majesty, cared greatly for her consort, which didn't happen a lot with the royals.
Yeah.
So, it was very unique. Prince Consort Albert. However, it was destined to reach an unfortunate end because the consort was stricken with a grave illness. The Empress obviously wanted to save him. She was approached by a group of mysterious figures calling themselves the Masters of the Bazaar. You see the fan art of the guy at the very top. That's one of the Masters of the Bazaar.
I like how it's spelt like bazaar, like a market bazaar.
Yeah.
But then it also could
it's
be
all,
like
it's all
bizarre,
very
like crazy and weird.
It's all very thematic, yeah. They said that they could save his life if they would just give them her city, which was London. The Empress agreed, and then on Valentine's Day in 1862, a massive swarm of hellish bats literally dragged the city into the godforsaken abyss that is the Neath.
Yeah, that is
Which is
so incomprehensible.
ridiculous. Yeah, it's crazy to think about. Any questions so far?
No.
So now we've traveled down to the Neath. Basically, the city of London found itself in the Neath, the vast underground cavern that's a mile underneath the surface of the earth. It's not just like you say hi to like the people above by waving. It's like, no, this thing is a full ass mile beneath the earth. London underwent several changes during this. So the Thames was redirected into hell itself and is now known as the Stolen River. So literally hell is hanging out in the Neath, by the way. There's a lot of shit going on.
Yeah.
Like a lot of shit. So the literal place of hell.
We're starting the timeline off with an entire city, a geographical city being taken.
Yes.
Yeah.
But beneath ground and right next to hell. So yeah, so basically hell kind of seeped in and was redirected into that.
I guess my technical
river.
question for that is, when they took the city, did they pull the city through the ground, or did they take the earth, like the physical earth with it, and just pulled it beneath the water?
There's not a whole lot of details about this. It's very, like, once again, like I said, it's very mysterious.
Mm.
But the idea of it was that was all brought down, like rivers and everything and all. But basically, many parts of the suburbs were lost to the wide and dark Untersea. An example basically remains Mutton Island. So that actually is an island that you can find in the game, which is really weird.
Is that still above the sea?
All this that I'm talking about is within the Neath.
Okay.
So within this cavern, within the sea, the Neath being the cavern and the realm, and the Untersea being the ocean. So this is an island on that in this area. But basically things are all crazy. They do all these like strange like rituals by like a well, and it's like very, it's basically like a whole episode, but it's very strange.
Mm.
And it's very much like a Lovecraftian story.
Yeah.
If you think about that, like the same kind of weird, you don't know why they're doing their thing, but they're doing it. Like how in Skyrim they had a Lovecraftian theme with Mirak, the Dragonborn, where they're all kind of working on this construction thing.
Yeah,
they don't know why. No one knows why. So
of course the deity is some like tentacly. Like,
yeah. Yeah. Hermaeus Mora, yeah.
I love knowledge.
But London itself, ironically enough, became host to the Echo Bazaar, which is a basically kind of like a marketplace. It's a massive market, and it's where people like sell their goods. All the goods that are being sold around are like really mysterious. Like you can find crates of human souls and things like that. There's just the most weird stuff. But the Neath is basically untouched by sunlight, which is something that's very important to know about, because once you're in the Neath, a lot of things happen to you. Like you don't really die when you're in the Neath. Like if you die, you can come back for the most part.
But you'd have to come back to the Neath, or would you come back topside?
Good question. All right, so if you die topside, you die permanently.
Sure.
If you die in the Neath, you can come back, but you can never go topside.
So now you're just stuck in the Neath.
Yeah. I mean, there are supposedly some really rare ways that you can do that. You can like basically make the trip, but that's like a whole thing.
Find the hidden river.
I was gonna say that's a whole thing in the book. You have to find like a certain like drink and all that shit.
Okay, yeah. So I'm starting to connect some dots. It's somewhat more similar to other mythical stories, because the Neath does not sound like an actual physical location anymore. This sounds like more ethereal, more akin to like an afterlife, so to speak.
Yeah, like a region afterlife. Yeah, essentially. So the Neath is collectively untouched by sunlight. One of the several things that makes the Sunless Sea an atmospheric and very unsettling experience is that you don't have any natural sunlight. There is, however, as spoilers, I do apologize, But there is an island that you will find that is touched by sunlight, which is very strange. And it's like untouched place that you can actually choose to use as your own if you like
set up a base there kind of thing.
Kind of, yeah. I forget the details of it. It's very hard to do that though because it's like obviously it's like in the middle of nowhere and like the fuel. There's a lot going on there. But essentially,
that is tough because you feel like you would want a place like that to set up shop.
I know.
But then they make it really tough to get to.
Mm-hmm. It is ironic. All right, next slide.
This game ain't giving you anything.
Oh, actually, if you go back up, that image in the background right there, that is part of the beneath the ocean of the Neath. So they released an expansion pack called the Submariner expansion pack, which basically you can go underneath the waves in like a submarine, which is outlawed essentially. So you kind of have to do it through like illegal means to acquire a submarine. But you can do that, and there are some crazy things that you find when you're underneath there. Like
it's kind of funny that we're talking about submarines after what just happened with the Ocean Gate.
I know, this was very ironic, too, because I think we were contemplating doing this.
And then, like, a week later,
literally a week later,
died
this
in a submarine looking at the Titanic.
I thought about that going into this, but
This is so wild. I think we've done that a couple times.
And not only this, you want to know two things that were very strange about this game in the modern era? It's all about bats and, like, eating bats. Coronavirus happens.
Oh, yeah.
Because of bats. We go about the submarine era, and a horrible submarine accident happens. This is like The Simpsons, but for video games. It's pretty bad.
Maybe this really is Cthulhu, like Lovecraftian bullshit.
It's
like
just
they're connected.
Coming full circle.
Jesus, I think we're breaching into some scary stuff.
Yeah, we're going a little.
If we no longer show up on Earth,
we're going even
this
further
recording
beyond.
will be left to know what happened.
But yeah, there's some crazy stuff in the underground part for it, man. And like there's some monsters that you fight down there.
So this image is part of the DLC that you were speaking of to acquire a submarine.
Yes.
Okay.
Which is kind of cool because it's not like it's not like a brand new map. It's just like finding new stuff underneath what you've already found, which kind of makes it kind of an added layer. If you buy it on console, it automatically comes with this.
Nice.
By the way, so yeah, you're getting your money's worth essentially. All right, so the Cumaean Canal. I just want to touch on this very briefly because I know a lot of people are going to be curious about like, well, what about the surface? Did they just is the surface still there? You know, what the hell is going on? Yeah,
so far we've only seen like ships sailing on the ocean, kind of, and then obviously the Neath. And
then in the docks, you know, with London, but
yeah.
Other than that, but yeah, no, the surface still exists. We just don't know about it really because we've been basically living in the Neath our whole life as captains.
Oh, really?
And all that stuff. Yeah, I mean, I think there's. It's potential that we traveled from the surface.
So going back to what you were talking about before with dying in the Neath, if you don't die in the Neath, can you still go back and forth between the Neath
you
and
can
surface?
make it. You can make it up there. I forget what happens to you because I think that if you're in the Neath for a decent amount of time, you're a lot more sensitive to light, and then light does stuff. Because, like I said,
that would make sense.
The physical properties of like light and the way it affects people in the Neath is just so strange. Mm-hmm. But essentially it is possible to go up to the surface. And you can go up to the surface in the game for a brief amount of time. One of the only known ways to reach the surface world and vice versa is through this kind of cool, it's like a mechanical, it's a wonder of like locks and like pulleys that just will drag the traveler up through like all these different chambers and caverns up to the earth. And it's like one of the only ways that are known that you can get up there because it's like you're literally pulling yourself
Was this device
a mile up.
Humans to like travel back and forth?
As far as we know it is, once again, the lore is just so hidden. But presumably it's done by it's either done by the humans or it was done by other Neath dwellers, which it's just more than just humans down there. But you also have to remember that London was the 5th city stolen beneath the surface of the waves.
Did we find out about the other 4?
Yeah. Well, actually, you have a very common... London has aggressive beef with the 4th city, which is the Khanite.
Okay.
Which, guess what? It's from the Mongol era.
Oh, shit.
That was dragged down all those years ago. And, you know, they've developed and stuff. But basically, they're the number one competitor for London.
So the motivating force behind this game is supernatural. Almost like goddess kind of type.
Yeah, like great old
entities.
one interference, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah, so basically a lot of characters come down to the Neath through this method. You know, because a lot of people will come down to be like, I want to slay a great beast that we've heard about down in the Neath. We're going to go down there and explore. Or they're going to go down here for like, other reasons, for like for fame, fortune. They travel down here deliberately, but a lot of them don't come back up for obvious reasons because the Neath is incredibly deadly. Obviously, as I said before, if you die in the Neath, you die for real. No, if you die in the Neath, you essentially can't really go back up.
You live in the Neath.
yeah. So I mean, it's very, very, very rare that they come back up. It's usually a one-way trip.
So anybody who resides in the Neath after dying, are they now just immortal in the Neath?
Kind of. I mean, there's a lot of, so basically, right into this next part right here. But basically,
per theme.
Per theme, the jumping ahead theme. But basically, you can sustain grievous injuries, after death. Like, so you can lose an arm, and that arm's not going to grow back. And eventually, you might get, like, beat up and bruised enough and, like, done enough where basically you're just a whole mummy that's wrapped up in bandages. And we call those tomb dweller, or what is it? I think it's a tomb. It's tomb dweller. I might have to correct myself on that, but I think it's a tomb dweller. But the idea of it is like basically the only place that you have to go really is over to the tomb colonists. Tomb colonists, damn it, that's what it is. The tomb colonists, which basically there's just an island there called Vanderblight, and basically all you do is you're there. You're basically like an inch away from death, but you're just kind of hanging there.
But you can't. It seem like you can die, like permanently die.
It is possible to permanently die.
Okay, and then not come back.
Yeah. Like if you get eaten by a freaking sea monster, you're not coming back.
Yeah.
I mean, I respect you, but you're not coming back.
It's great, but you're pooped now.
Yeah. So a lot of people also don't like to go to Vanderbilt to visit the tomb colonists because, one, I mean, they're all obviously
fucked up.
Horribly fucked up. But
yeah,
also,
it sounds like almost like a leper colony.
Yeah, it pretty much is. That's what I thought it was when I first played because I didn't know any of the lore. So I thought that's what it was. But also, not only that, but it's kind of a dangerous place because what do you have to do when you're dying other than like beat the crap out of each other? So like they just fight each other and like duel each other and be like, "Ha, I killed you." And he comes back, "All right, well I'm gonna kill you now." That kind of thing. It's like a battle of immortals that are bored, which is not something that you want to visit. But yeah, the image that I have right here, Tyler, is actually of the surface, my friend.
This is nice.
Yeah. Very strange, very strange. All right, death in the Neath. That is a tomb colonist right there. They look like mummies, essentially.
So we already just discussed all of
this. Yeah, we
literally
just discussed all of this. Wow, literally all of this. Every single bullet that I have.
The theme persists.
Yes. All right, well, I guess we could just keep going then. All right, yeah. So that's
just straight pooped.
So yeah, essentially, we'll just kind of go into the discussion now and then the gameplay.
Sure.
Before I go into that for a little bit, I do want to kind of discuss things that I didn't talk about too much, which is obviously the idea of the three gods that we were talking about: storm, stone, and salt. Because they actually do play a big role in like the way that the Neath operates, and the sailors are very superstitious too. So like if you make some decisions to like ignore them, your sailors will get kind of like anxious and pissed.
Like, what are you doing?
And like things like mutinies will try to happen on you.
It makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. So like there's like things like I think what it is. So salt is like diamond. If you find a diamond, like salt likes diamonds or whatever. So if you throw the diamond back into the ocean instead of keeping it, like you get their favor, that type of thing.
Okay.
So there is kind of subtle ways that things do this way, and so you get this notice in the game that things have changed in the Neath, which is always kind of like really unsettling because you don't know what it is. So things can move around.
You just get like an ominous, got a letter for you. Your eyes only.
Your eyes only type of thing. So people that die, quote unquote, they can become tomb colonists, but there's also like other things. Like there's called the drownies, which are like very like kind of terrifying. But the idea is that basically they think that they've drowned, but they haven't because they're kind of quote unquote immortal down here. So they basically their idea is that they're like they think that they're spirits that are drowned and they try to drown everybody else. So that's pretty unsettling. So they got these kind of like watery like aqua like skin and they'll just like grab people very much like sirens.
Okay.
But like just aggressive.
Yeah, it seems like every like group of beings that kind of gets fucked in some way. Then they just come back as like these crazed people that are just trying to like imbue the same fate on anybody else they come across.
Yeah.
Tomb colonists, and then you got the drownies. Yeah.
There is one more thing that I want to discuss lore-wise, which is I mentioned this earlier, and you probably have at least a couple questions. But I mentioned that hell is physically connected.
That was kind of just sprinkled in.
Yeah, that was just kind of touched on for a second. So
it's like, oh, by the way, hell's there too.
Yeah, let me get into that for a little bit. So obviously this is the 19th century, so London is very Christian.
Mm-hmm.
So they go down, into this area, and they're literally touching toes with hell itself. So the concept of like Satan and how he's come down and like he's ruling hell.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in this game, that's not really true, because sure that might have happened at one point, and like some major devils did rule down there. But because hell is literally just complete anarchy, like they were overthrown, like they were revolutionized. So it's basically just like it's organized by like a weird complex series of devils. Yeah. While hell still exists, even though it's not like conventional hell, the religious heads, the bishops of London, are like, well, let's do a crusade. Let's go after hell. Let's go and invade hell.
Now, I just want to confirm, when you're speaking of London and like the dwellers of London, you're speaking to them when they're like underneath, right?
When they're
like topside.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, this happened shortly after they dropped down.
Okay, because
like
all these people, all the
later.
inhabitants of London stayed with the city when it came down. Okay.
Yeah. It was literally like word for word the city, like every component of the city was taken out.
London on a map. You carved
it's
it
like
off.
Brainiac's little glass jars of reality that's just taken down, and all those changes happened. But for the most part, so there was called the Campaign of '68. Which is kind of cool because you can have your captain be a survivor.
Like a veteran?
A veteran of the Campaign of '68, which is kind of cool. So basically, the bishops, I guess, were just like, hey, hell...
Ant right behind you on the wall.
And I ain't having it.
Not today, Ant.
Oop, he done fell.
You fucked. Okay.
Mission fucking failed! Alright, the Campaign of '68. So, in 1868, they realized, oh shit, our river is going directly into hell. That sucks ass, and that can't stand. We will go and fight.
They just like stumble upon that. They're like, what is this at the end of the river?
Yeah. So they're like, you know what? Fuck this. We're Catholics. We're religious. Let's go fucking fight the.
Done it before.
Let's go fight the devils. Yeah, with a literal crusade. So they go in there, and guess what happens?
They fail.
They fucking get their asses handed.
Yeah,
It's fucking hell. So a lot of them.
It's like, this ain't it, chief.
Yeah, a lot of them don't even make it past like the first line of defense. Like they all just kind of get wrecked, and then
it's like the two towers, like the first line of Uruk-hai that just gets downed by all those
yeah,
arrows.
it's demolished.
It's like nah.
But so they get their asses handed to the few that do make it in. There are some that make it through the wall, or through the first line of defense rather.
Oh, technical question:
Mm-hmm.
with the people, the dwellers underneath, can they reproduce, like have babies?
I think so.
Interesting.
I believe so. I haven't read anything that contradicts that. Yeah, I believe so. I don't know much in terms of.
Because I know, like obviously, from what you're saying, people can't die.
Yeah.
The dwellers.
Well, for the most part, unless under extreme circumstances.
Sure.
Yeah. I think that there's a lot of it that just remains a freaking mystery.
Yeah.
So I can't confirm or deny it, but from what I don't know. I haven't heard any examples of that not being the case. Like it's not brought up in the game that you can't have kids or anything like that.
And just for
because you
like,
can find lovers and all that stuff.
So just for like kind of firm clarification, underwater, they're underwater, right? Or they're underneath the water, but in like a cavern.
They're not underwater. They're under the earth.
Okay.
Sitting on top of essentially an ocean. Yeah.
Okay, so
they're basically they consist of a bunch of little islands. Yeah.
Okay, so they're like. Okay, so they're not like they don't have like diving helmets and stuff like that. They're breathing air and stuff like that, but they're just under the.
Yeah, they're just under the ocean. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just need
or
that
under
clarification.
the earth. Yeah. I got you.
Because the top down, you don't know.
Yeah.
Top down, because there could be underwater ocean.
It makes it a little bit more clear when you're doing the submarine thing, because there's a clear submarine mode where you're completely underwater, and then there's one you're on top of the surface of the water.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. Gotcha. So
they crusade, they go into hell, they get their butts whooped.
Yeah. There's some of them that make it in, but what do you think happened? What do you think they find? Just straight fields of fire, burning flames.
Hell, I don't know what they're.
And they just they go insane because they're like, what the hell is this? So the ones that do
it is
the ones that do survive, they come back out and they're like,
it's fucking hell, man.
I don't know what you wanted us to do.
What's the plan
We
here?
got in there, but there was nothing there.
What are we crusading?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, so like some of them went insane. Some of them are on like barges, like hellish barges that like they got captured and they have to get paid ransoms and
Wow.
all that shit. And like, yeah, so basically it was a complete wash. Everyone,
Yeah.
I don't know what they thought.
What that plan was not gonna work.
So,
Oh,
but it's kind of interesting though, because in this game, a lot of the devils that, you know, got kind of kicked out when that whole revolution happened in Hell,
Mhm.
you can find some of them. Some of them have reverted back to their monsterish forms, their like bestial forms. And there are other ones. There's one really creepy one.
You're saying you find them outside of Hell?
Yeah.
Like they've made
you
their
can,
way out?
Yeah. That are just kind of hanging out underneath, and you can find them on an island or whatever. But there's one that's on Mount Palmerston, I believe, which is like a volcano. And there's just like this one woman devil. Fucking terrifying, man. It was like she's like you're scared the whole time because she could kill you any second, but she's like trying to invite you to tea and like just saying like,
I don't want to say yes.
So you're gonna help me, right? And we're like,
It's like you have a choice.
do I have? Can I say no?
Can.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can.
So yeah. So, but those are the kind of that's kind of Hell's part to play, and Hell has like their own influence on how things go.
Interesting.
But because of how chaotic it is, they don't really have. I mean, they're kind of have like a very shaky, cordial thing after the war, where they're like kind of talking with London, but it's not like because they haven't Hell hasn't openly invaded because they're not like really organized enough to really care or anything like that. But yeah, no, invading Hell is definitely a
I'd be
no-go.
interested to think that the gods who watch over this
Run beneath.
Yeah, you think they would care about
Yeah.
having like
That's
Hell.
one of the cool hypotheses that I have is that the gods beneath are so old that they just don't give a fuck about like anything that's
They're
going
before Hell.
with like the younger people of Hell. Yeah. It's like whatever.
It's like teens.
Yeah, it's like a strange like would you consider the great? That's a good question. Would you consider the great old ones like of the Cthulhu mythos? Would you consider them older than like the time that Lucifer was sent down to Hell?
I think that's
like was
the
that
idea
earlier?
behind those.
Or
I think that's the idea behind those. They are so ancient.
They're so old that was like
they were before
in the yesterday's paper.
They
like
were before time.
Yeah.
And then
which is crazy to think
that.
about.
Yeah, you run off of that to formulate who the hell God is.
Your Lucifer politics don't concern me. I've been here.
You're new to this game.
You're new to this game. So yeah. What do you think about the lore, my friend? It's a bit much, and it's crazy too, because
interesting.
I didn't think that there was that much when I first got into it, but like when you look into it, this is absurd. And I had only gotten through like maybe just over half of this dude's videos, in terms of like learning the fine.
Shit makes me so annoyed when it's like there's holes in that shit, and it's like, why can't you connect these dots?
Yeah. And that's the one thing the Bespectacled Archivist does that like I appreciate for the sake that he's sticking with the theme, but he'll say these things where he'll be like, but that's a story for another time. I'm like, come on, man.
Fuck you, it's a story for right now.
It's a story for right now.
We were just talking about the story.
So yeah, what do you think about it, man?
The lore aspect really has me intrigued. It's definitely something that I wish, from what you're sounding like, it doesn't seem like there's a kind of font of knowledge about these things.
Yeah.
And where they had to be compiled by, who's he, what's it's on YouTube. Which is fine in itself, but I love having that bulk reading aspect. To really do a deep dive into this lore, then like going through the different articles and like connecting everything. I love that.
Yeah.
But this doesn't have that, which is it's kind of a quest in itself.
Yeah. I think that it's one of those.
There's a thrill of that.
I think it's also kind of interesting too because I feel like there's a certain amount of games, not a whole lot. There's a certain amount of games that kind of share that level of hidden lore, but because of how big the fan bases are, they're able to kind of consolidate it into a nice little package.
Dark Souls is a good example.
Very good example. But this, I feel like it was so under the radar that only the people that really cared
it's
enough
so niche,
looked into it. Yeah, but it is really cool. I wonder if we'll get more in like future games.
Maybe this is
really
something
cool.
we could take on.
That would be honestly kind of interesting.
And archive and maybe set up the wiki for this shit. Does it even have a wiki?
I'm down to be the niche party for this.
Does it have a wiki?
It does, but it hasn't been updated in quite some time. I think the last post of it was just like the undersea, like the submariner edition thing is set to be released in this so-and-so. Like it was prior to like the game's DLC's release.
Sounds like we might have some work.
It would be kind of cool, yeah.
That'd be really, really cool.
Yeah. I love it. Plus, it's like a lot of like it's not like it's just reading. It's like quality reading. Like, you know what I mean?
It's
literally won awards for its writing.
Yeah, it's a multifaceted, like immersive reading experience. It is reading, but at the same time,
you're
making the story.
Yeah.
You're reading and writing the story.
Yeah.
And like, because you had mentioned D&D at first, I'm like, the fuck's he talking about at the beginning? With D&D, but now I'm seeing what you're saying with like the developing story.
Indeed. So I guess to discuss, let's try to go into a little bit how the game kind of flows. This would be a lot easier maybe if we did like a session,
like actual playthrough,
just to add on to it towards the
I think
end.
We should have more of like kind of a playthrough, but not for the playthrough's sake, but kind of more of a discussion.
Yeah. But for those that have listened this long, I'll kind of give just a general understanding of how it works. So essentially, in this game, you play as a captain. You can do a bunch of different goals.
And you start off in the Neath, right?
Yeah, yes, you start off in Fallen London.
Okay.
And you are going to be basically one of the captains. You start off with a really crappy little steam engine ship.
Sure.
You get a crew of maybe 8 people or something.
Mm-hmm.
And basically you work with the I think Bespeckled Admiral. I think that's where he gets it. Bespeckled Archivist. I think that's where he gets the name. But you basically work with this admiral who's basically the naval fleet officer of Britain, and he commissions all these ships to go places, and he'll award you, and that's how you get most of your money. I didn't realize that for the longest time that's how
you make money.
That's how you make money. Yeah, because I was struggling so hard with money. I'm like, dude, I'm trying to survive off of 2 fucking crates of fuel because I can't afford it, and I'm like, wait, that's not how I'm supposed to be doing this game. So you literally go to these islands, do your little field reports, and then bring it back to him.
And he'll award
and he'll give you the money.
Makes sense.
And some of them are really crazy too, because you'll go to some places that are insane and literally will drive you insane. And it's kind of funny when you bring it back to him, because I forget which. It's
just a bunch of gibberish.
Yeah. There is literally, and there's one that had me dying the first time it happened to me, which was
it's just
I forget if we go to I don't know if this is the one, but there's a place called Codex or Wither. I forget which one it is.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, they're so annoying because it's a whole island of people that don't answer questions. They just ask other questions back at you. So you'll be like, how are you? Are you doing good? And it'll be one of those things where it's they just can constantly just ask you questions. They will never give you a straight answer. It's only questions. And it drives you insane because you're like, dude, just fucking answer so much.
Talk to me.
I'm just trying to do a quick report here. But there's one point where you come back from an island and you give him your report and he looks into it, because you can pass them in one after another. And some of them are like, all right, I see the people from Mutton Island are doing good. Nothing's happened over there. That's great. Oh, I see the people from the monkeys from whatever island, they're fine. Then there's one, and I forget what the island is, but it's just he's just like, this is a blank piece of paper. I'm like, wait, what are you talking about? He's like, yeah, no, I'm positive it's just a blank piece of paper. And we're like, well, no, we were totally there. He's like, it's fine. This literally happens whenever someone visits that island. It's okay. It's whatever. Here's $5 or whatever.
Good job. Pats you on the head.
Yeah, you're like, I went through all of that to for my brain to have blanked out.
So the way you run the game is you're basically just, I don't want to say repetitive, but you're just doing this. You're just constantly fielding and exploring these different locations. And then it kind of changes depending on what's going on at those islands.
Yeah, that's the general grind loop, I would say.
Okay.
I mean, there are obviously, once you get more established and you're able to kind of explore more, you can do crazier things. There'll be some characters that you meet that want to go places or that want to handle these things.
Of other variety of
you can
things like that.
Involved with the traveler, and you can do these things. Like I said, the island. They have that whole Sun Island that you can try and learn a little bit about. You can try and visit the surface. You can try and do all these things.
And then when you get to these different side islands, can you stumble upon things to do on those islands?
Oh yeah, almost always. Yeah. That's why whenever things change on the Neath too, that's kind of how the stories progress on those islands as well.
Mm.
So sometimes you'll do everything you can do on an island, right? And then you'll leave that island, and then eventually a month down the line you'll hear the little kind of anchor toll sound, and you'll get things have changed underneath. And if you go back to that island, there's a chance that you'll be able to continue that story.
And
there's some crazy components to that. There's an island of sisters. There's 3 sisters who are all kind of crazy, and they all have different personalities. As you progress through that storyline, things get crazy, and eventually the house will be on fire, and you can save one of them or whatever it is, and it's just there's so much into these things that you don't think about. And then there's also some spots way off in the distance. Generally, I did mention at the beginning that the islands shift around each time, but generally they stay in the same in terms of the proximity to what's a kind of an easy level area versus what's a hard level area.
Yeah.
And if you go way further out, basically the further east you go, the harder it is because you're running off of fuel reserves. There's not a lot of civilization out there.
Yeah. Do you have to take into account the fuel coming back too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's tough. I've run out of fuel several times.
What do you do at that point? You just die?
You can pray to one of the gods. Other than that, yeah, you kind of have to die. Or you can try and, like, if you're smart enough, you can try and burn some food as fuel. But once again, you need food. So if you're out of both, you're literally
just
just gonna die.
You need the crew.
You burn the crew.
I'd rather eat past it.
Yeah. Well, you
fuel.
do need some crew in order to actually use the ship. Yeah.
Do you operate solely off of the vehicles, like no matter what you're doing?
Unless you're on the islands, then yeah.
So when you're on the islands, can you navigate and maneuver on the islands like as a person? Or?
Yeah, depending. I mean,
or is that more like the text driven at that point?
It's mostly text driven.
Where you're just kind of clicking on.
Yeah,
things.
yeah. Eventually, you can go like super far east, and you can see some crazy stuff. Like there's I forget what it's called, but there's like this crazy like. You saw it briefly, I think, where there's like a hand sticking out of the ground in the trailer.
Oh yeah.
But it's like a whole you pray to the gods, that type of thing, and like it will like transport you. There's also, you can try and break through the north, south, and east parts of the map, which are kind of interesting because if you go too far up north, this game is very nice in the fact that it awards you for being an explorer.
Yeah.
So even at the limits of the game, it'll try and give you a cool like little narrative about being like, you've basically gone through past what we've made, but like we're gonna give a really cool story about what happens to you after you leave civilized sea, basically, and you go too far east or you go too far north.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool. I mean, honestly, I love this game. It's really good.
Is there an end game? Is there like 100% completion, or is it kind of always evolving? Is there just so much to do that nobody's really done that we know of?
I mean, there is like some good like achievement hunting, like in the sense that you can finish your character's goals,
Sure,
accomplish them, and have everything set. Like you can get the fanciest place in London, you can get the best ship, collect all of the things. There are some like cool things that you can collect too, and I love the experiences of it too, because you can get like there's things called like a strange catch or whatever, where you can like catch like this kind of eldritch creature, like kind of like a Moby Dick type of situation. You can explore the undersea areas, like the underwater spots. See weird shit like this when you go underwater and you're like, what the fuck am I looking at?
Is that a fucking mouth?
Yeah, it's a big ass mouth.
Oh, I hate fucking shit like that. Like multi-layered teeth shit.
Yeah.
It makes me so uncomfortable.
It is pretty bad. But yeah, those are kind of the general ideas. I mean, like I said, this is kind of it's an indie game. It's not like it's a AAA title that has like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of things. But there's a lot to do in this game, and I love the writing of it. I think the universe that they've created is great. If they keep on doing good games like this and writing, I could see it being really popular.
Have you yourself completed most everything for the game? Less in terms of like what you want to do, but like in terms of like what is actually accomplishable.
What is actually accomplishable?
Like collecting achievements, the highest level residents, vehicles, that sort of shit.
I would say no, because there's a lot of ones that require a lot of exploring things that don't have a conventional pathway, if that makes sense. So like, say that you're looking for, at one point when you go visit Vanderblight, you meet this one tomb colonist. I forget what he is, but he's like one of the rulers of the tomb colonies. He's this kind of crazy wise old man or whatever. He gives you like a task where he basically, I forget what he'd give you, but he's like, if you find like all of these like strange like essences that are scattered throughout the world, that you can do that. But that's one of those ones that's just like, I've never completed that one because it's so hard. Because like it's so hard to find those.
Okay, so you're saying because there's a lot of these things don't have such a straightforward conventional pathway.
Yeah.
Like you have to basically find those things to do.
Yeah. So essentially, I mean, I would subdivide that in that case into two different things, which is like conventional gameplay ones, which are like, I want
go to A, get B, go
to
C.
I want to earn a lot of money, or I want to find my dad's ashes or something like that. And that goes down and trickles down. It's very straightforward. That's what your character wants.
But there
to
are just
do.
some things out there that you don't even know they're there.
There's some things that are like gold, holy grail type of things that even I haven't found.
Yeah, and you might not know that they're there. Don't know that they're there, but they are there, kind of thing. That makes more sense. Okay.
So
picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah. So do you have any thoughts, theories, and opinions?
No. I would say, well, yes and no. I would still say, like, the top-down will still most likely kind of take some things away from me. I am definitely interested in kind of seeing this get played. I really think that for the more immersive aspect, it would have been way cooler to have a different perspective in terms of the actual gameplay itself. But I do love the lore and I love the story building, and I'm very intrigued by the just what the fuck is going on kind of thing. You know, like what's going on topside with everybody else who just saw London just fucking disappear because there's obviously still an above ground, you know, civilization going on.
Yeah.
And like who are these gods that like took everything apart? Like, you know, who are these?
And who are the masters of the bazaar?
Yeah, who are these deities?
Which, by the way, does not really appear at all in Sunless Sea.
So it's just there.
They talk about the masters of the bazaar in Fallen London, but
it doesn't seem like there's any other influence in the game.
Because one of the things that is very interesting about Sunless Sea that I've known, because here's the thing, I started with Sunless Sea and I did not start with Fallen London, and going retroactively into Fallen London, I saw very big differences in the game structure, which Sunless Sea is all about exploration. It's literally in like the trailer, like explore, like you're trying to go out and explore. You're not spending much time in London.
Yeah.
But with Fallen London rather, you learn all about the internal politics of like Fallen London and how they're gonna run things, because, you know, obviously they basically became from a city into like a country in like borderlining hell. Like it's a very like tense situation.
Do you still interact with the Empress or whatever who put this stuff into play?
Yeah, the Empress is strange because like a lot of them consider her evil, obviously, because she made this basically pact with the devil, essentially.
Yeah, she was the reason why this fucking...
Why all this happened in the first place. But also, like, she doesn't hold all the power. Mostly, like, the parliament and, like, the majority, that kind of thing. So, you know, that whole election is a huge thing. And apparently that was, like, a big thing in the first game, was the idea of, like, the election and, like, who was in charge, backing certain people. It was much more like...
Can you get directly involved?
Intrigue-based.
Can you get involved in the political intrigue in either?
I believe in Fallen London you can. Don't quote me on that, but I believe that that's one of the main kind of facets of it.
Now, my next question is...
Yes.
If you play Fallen London, just anybody, could what you do affect what you interact or see in Sunless Sea? Is it that connected? No?
I have no idea.
That would be nuts.
That would be crazy, yeah. Because it was interesting, because, I mean... I kind of wish that I dived a little bit more and like learned a bit more about Fallen London, because Fallen London, I feel like a lot of their lore for Sunless Sea is centered in Fallen London.
Yeah, it takes place
like
there.
That wiki is way bigger than the Sunless Sea, and Sunless Sea I think was a bigger game. Because I feel like Fallen London is interesting because you have that kind of core foundational element, which is kind of important for a game that reality doesn't really have too much sway in, to have that like core staple. And then you can branch out into the craziness that is Sunless Sea, where you're exploring things and you have no idea what the fuck's going on at any point, which is kind of one of the fun things about it. But like, it's also kind of like, if you're trying to like, if you take a second to pause and think, you're like, what the fuck is this? Like, what is happening with any of this? Because you'll have these crazy creatures, like you'll have the fucking blue prophets, which I hate them so much. It's like there's a lot of enemies in this game. You know, some of them are either ships, some of them are sea monsters, and then some of them are just like weird things. Like one of them are the blue prophets, which are basically like flying like angel things that are like basically call out the names of the next person that's gonna die.
Oh, that's fucked.
But they like don't leave you alone. So like if you drive by their area, they're just gonna beat the shit out of your
Jerry
ship.
Smith is gonna die.
Norm, is that you?
You're dead. You're dead meat, man.
So, but you're also like, where the fuck did these guys come from? Like, you know what I mean? There's just a lot of questions and mysteries. And I feel like with Fallen London, at least some of them, even if it's just the ones like that are foundational, like just what's up with London right now, like I feel like that's something that I would really like to dive into and learn about.
This sounds like a discussion for another day.
Indeed. Yeah, did you want to eventually play this, perhaps?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I want to get freaked out. I want to see some weird fucking giant-ass creatures like look at, you know, the bottom of my ship. And
yeah. And I know it sounds like a lot and it's going to hurt your brain, but trust me, the gameplay flows really smoothly and everything, like, makes sense. Like
I'm already kind of having an idea. I think a lot of these top-down games are built the same way, especially the ones that, unless you're in the vehicle, everything else is based off like the text, and it might have like a cutout maybe of the characters that are speaking to you, but the rest of it is interacting, the text-based interaction. I think I have a good grasp of that already. I think honestly, I think that Bionic game I talked about was kind of built the same way. Yeah.
The ball.
It also had a very weird, same mystery aspect. We could do that game one day too. I think it's actually, you'll find a lot of things, especially the atmosphere, is very similar to this. Now that I think about it, the whole creepy kind of mystery vibe, like not knowing like where the fuck you are, what the fuck's going on.
Yeah, this is, to me, it's one of the coolest atmospheres of all time. Because here's the thing, you can make certain atmosphere, like as an author, like if you're trying to create a fictional piece similar to this, there's a lot of ways that you could go about it. And even in terms of like Lovecraftian style, where it's like you have like a dark and stormy night on the ocean, like that's one thing, but like you have like the sky above you, you have the stars, you have all this stuff going on.
Wait, you can see stars and stuff underneath?
No, that's what I'm saying.
Oh.
I'm saying in general, like if you're making that narrative in
That's
fiction,
what you have.
that's what you have. But this, like, they remove that from you. They remove the fucking tide pole of the moon. Like, so you have this weirdly calm, choppy
super
water,
still
where
water.
you're like startled by anything that's making the slightest movement in the water.
Because you know it's not.
Because it's not. It can't be a wave, really.
Yeah, like that's not just fucking moving water.
yeah.
Something's moving in the
It's
water.
like, oh man, like it's funny that it's more terrifying to have a calm sea, an unknown underneath, than to have a choppy sea
knowing
with
that
just
you can't
knowing
fight
that.
it.
Well,
Yeah.
the knowing is fine. You
There's
know what I mean?
totally, yeah. Oh, yeah, well, that's the biggest kicker is always like the unknown is the scariest. Just
Yeah,
because at that point you're, it's only what your mind's going to make of
Because
it.
it's like it's just purely psychological.
And you're only going to elevate that to like, oh god, this is going to be the worst fucking thing ever.
And I think they do a great job too with managing that in terms of like just calculating it as like a meter for fear, because you have that fear meter. I don't know if you see it right there. It's right beneath that little food sign. 2 meters.
Oh, I see it. Yeah, it looks
yeah.
like a little skull.
It's a little skull thing, yeah. And you'll see that like it will always go. I mean, if you're out at sea for a long period of time, it doesn't really matter where you are. That's gonna naturally go up.
Mm-hmm.
But that's that. But you can see how it right there. It's just you see that how it's got red dots around it.
Mm-hmm.
That means it's increasing rapidly and fast.
And then as those dots fill up, you'll see
Yeah,
that
yeah.
bar increase at a higher frequency. Makes sense.
But then if you go by like the civilization, if you go by the lights and all that stuff,
Yeah,
it will
just like,
it will
it
slow
won't-
down.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
it won't obviously progress.
Yeah. But like some things will happen that will fill it up automatically. Like say you go into a story thing. Like say that there's like your crewmate wakes you up in the middle of the night and it's just like, Captain, there is something underneath us. Like,
So you're starting off with like a full bar.
Yeah. And basically whatever choice you do, like sometimes it will be like, all right, you get plus 50 fear to your crew because you are like
You didn't make the right choice.
you did not make the right choice.
No.
Yeah.
At that point, you gotta like kind of weigh.
You're like try
What would make me? What action could I do that could adverse this fear?
Yeah, because there's like what's best for you, and then there's also what's like best psychologically for the crew, which is not always the same thing, which is always kind of tough.
Interesting.
Yeah. Because I mean, there might be situations where you're like, like you will do something, but like the really superstitious sailors will be like, no, don't do that. And if you do it anyway, they're gonna be like, all right, you kind of fucked us, which might not be the case.
You might
be
will
fine.
Will that come back to like not haunt you, but like would they be like, oh shit, I guess you were right, like you made the right choice, kind of thing? Or would they just be like, no, you should have always like agree with the gods, kind of thing?
Kind of. There's not always a lot of lingering effects, but there are penalties, or bonuses.
Yeah. So that was I had a question about this before. Do your choices actually affect the game, like long term?
Yes, they do. Which is funny. There's actually one it's kind of a stupid one, but it's really kind of interesting. Where it's like a I forget who they were fighting, but basically this civilization of rats fights this other civilization of like animals or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like this kind of creepy little Snow White type of situation, and you can influence who wins that war. So one of the wars will be won, and like at the end of the time, you can like just hang out with the winner or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So like decisions like that. You can also make decisions for like the characters that you influence. So if you like get a crew person that's just like, oh, I want to like this one guy that has like this weird curse on his head, which not to spoil anything, but it has some bearing over his ability to like reason, and like it's basically a massive headache for him because it forbids him from remembering something, and like you can choose to help him remember what it is, which might be more catastrophic than actually letting him have that forgetting. Yeah. So there's choices like that. Yeah, it's a cool game.
Very interesting.
Very involved. We shall.
I think
For any more questions that people have, or if they want to see us, play other games or dive into other games, just let us know.
Absolutely.
This was the wonderful Sunless Sea. Remember, this is from I think Mickey Marr did the amazing musical score for this. Obviously, Fail Better Games for making this game and making the creation. And of course, give thanks to the wonderful speckled archivist on YouTube.
Dropping links to all of those different streams, channels, whatever the case may be, websites for obviously the developers. And I think the next time we see this game, I'm thinking it should actually be gameplay
I think so
before
too.
we do another dive into where we're here discussing it. Because
Mhm.
you discussed about wanting to fall in London, so maybe the next episode about this could be
Could be about Fall in London, yeah.
Yeah.
Because that'd be cool. I want to dive that more into that myself, so we benefit to both parties, I think.
Excellent.
But yeah, thank you guys. This has been Fandora's Box.